Good afternoon, everybody. Today I'm going to be discussing the final result of my fourth project for my CGT 445 game design class. So, for the last week and a half, I challenged myself to try to create a fantasy village for my VR RPG, just a block out of it. So that way I could have an environment inside of the game. And this is the result of that project. I also was working on a tavern design and I was going to work on a shop design, but due to some bugs that I'll talk about later on, it just didn't turn out to be that I could work on the shop, and I'm only maybe part of the way done with the tavern design on the interior. So, without any further rambling, I guess, I will go ahead and get ahead into the actual walkthrough of this kind of village. So this is the north side. You'd be coming in on. You got a couple of houses, a little a couple little merchants or business people in the kind of community. You've got this jail where there's like a guard or whatever, or a couple of guards, and they keep criminals in the area there until their punishment or whatever, depending on the crime. Then you've got, other than the houses, you've got this big tavern over here next to a couple houses and maybe a business and a shed. The tavern is also an inn and a stable. So, if you're traveling from far away, you can stay the night. You can keep your horse in the stable, get some food, get some drink, and get rest. That's the kind of idea of it. So there's not a whole lot to it. It's just a tavern, kind of like D&D, where you could start off your adventures there. You stop off there in different towns and their taverns. You meet a ton of characters there, all kinds of different things. Taverns are great locations inside D&D to launch off campaigns or to give a sort of mild rest after you've had a big boss fight. So, given that I want to do a kind of D&D style RPG for VR, that is my idea, is to have this tavern that you kind of you get quests from and you rest at and stuff. And yeah. You also have back here, other than that little business, you've got the church, which is, just a church, people go there for worship or whatever. Imagine there's some kind of a god or whatever of this realm, and that's just the medieval style church that they have. I'm not sure about the lore, anything like that. I can't say that it's actually God or whatever. I don't want to get really into the religious stuff, but the idea is D&D has religions, so this is a place of worship for whatever religion this town believes in. Now that's kind of this side of the town. It's not a whole lot going on. You cross the bridge, fairly typical stuff. There's a little river that splits the town in two. And the first thing you come across into the second half of the town, so you've got your blacksmith over here in his big house. You've got this big store and apartment type of building. And you got this gazebo kind of town center. I don't know if the gazebo would be accurate for the time period. I'm thinking this would be either a well, or maybe it would be a place where they do punishments for the criminals. I don't really want to get into that too much because I just don't know, but this is just kind of a general public square. Maybe you'll have an occasional merchant that sets up out here that's traveling, bringing exotic goods from different regions of the world. Well, I don't know what to say exactly there could be, but it just that kind of idea, or it's a public meeting space where people can gather collectively for different reasons. And then as we look back over here, you kind of have in the distance your kind of city hall, a few more little houses, and right across from the city halls is the mayor's manor. And the mayor's manor is kind of just a place where the mayor lives. He wants to live right next to his town hall and wants a big fancy house. So that's basically what this is. Now, you've also got kind of in the back, there's not much else going on. It's mostly just more housing and a business. Maybe there's another merchant or something. Other than that, there's really not much else going on in this town. I haven't really developed any sort of a lore or story or anything like that. And most of these buildings have been blocked out with just simple using a cube, using, loop cuts, extruding stuff out, making new faces, just very generic 3D modeling stuff as I'm getting myself used to Blender. I am not proficient in 3D modeling. I am just starting to learn it, and I have spent a lot longer on this town than I thought I would have. I had 2 fatal flaws with this town that took a lot longer to figure out than I wanted to. Well, one of them did. The other one kind of popped up today, and I really don't have the time to figure out what the issue is and fix it. But the first one was getting scaling correct in Unreal. The scaling from Blender to Unreal isn't identical. And it took me a long time to try to figure things out, and nothing seemed to be working. And finally, after what felt like hours, I had actually figured out that there's a new plugin that Unreal makes to basically directly export stuff to Unreal. And it'll actually be correct in scaling and stuff. And it turns out the way that Blender does cubes is it creates a 2x2 cube initially instead of a 1x1. And the scaling that's over here isn't in the meters like the location is. It's kind of its own relativity type thing. I don't know how to exactly explain it, but basically 1 meter over here isn't actually 1 meter. It's one of whatever the size of whatever is. So if you have the 2x2 cube, it's going to be technically 2 meters instead of 1. So it is very confusing. Now, that was kind of the biggest issue I had, and it took me a long time to finally figure out the fix was just using a plugin. But the other issue I have is even, it's pretty sad and anticlimactic to this whole experience, is that today, after having finished everything off, the file won't export no matter how I try into Unreal. Whether I use the plugin or whether I just try to export the FBX as it is and then try to import it in Unreal, it just won't work. I've tried setting up a new file as well and copying everything over, thinking maybe I deleted something that I shouldn't have, and no dice, it still didn't work. I thought I saw something about the issue being with this texture being an image texture, that taking that out didn't fix anything. So I'm not sure where else to look without wasting a lot more time and energy. And making this overall project late. I'm already don't have it as much as I wanted to have. So having it late wouldn't necessarily help me out at all. So that's the town itself. And basically this specific thing is what gave me all my issues. Nothing else had given me issues except for the town itself, pretty much, this file. Actually exporting it and stuff. Modeling it was good. I didn't really have any problems. It just took a long time to model everything, even though everything looks pretty generic. So that is the town. And here is the tavern. It's very bare bones and basic right now. It's basically supposed to resemble part of the inside of the tavern inside of the town. As you can see, you have your bar and you have the kind of back warehouse area or whatever they'll have. This is kind of the eatery, the kind of public space of the building. And then there'll be a couple more floors too, I think. And those will provide space for the rooms for travelers to rest in and for you to explore. So the rooms will probably end up being in the back half. This front half will probably just be a big, wide open area that has, maybe a couple of, pathways going along and have some stairs somewhere. But it'll be mostly open, except for the ceiling. So it'll be like a big, grand place. But once you get past this kind of area, it'll be mostly just multiple rooms. And there might be more warehouse space back here, because this is only just a couple meters worth of the back. There's still a lot more space that I can go based on what the picture is that I had, or not the picture, but the model that I made. So, that's pretty much everything I have. I don't have my shop that I wanted to do, and even by the time I would finish this, I tried to continue. I still wouldn't have time enough to model a shop as well. So, unfortunately, that's where my project is, and I think that I did, outside of the issues that I've had, I've done pretty well, considering I'm new to 3D modeling. I've not done it before, and I think that it's a great learning experience, that I can use this knowledge to improve my 3D modeling skills, and to be able to create my own assets for my own games in the future. It will still take a lot of time and a lot of learning, a lot of practice. I would still have to learn a lot about texturing, probably a lot more about lighting and rendering, and all sorts of other things that I haven't really gotten too far into. I feel the project was a success for a lot of the things I did want to accomplish, and the things that I didn't get to accomplish, it really is draining to have to say that that's that. But unfortunately, that's where I'm at, and I don't feel like I should, continue on with and make myself late on this project. And I would rather just say, here's what I have, and be done with it for now. I think I want to have kind of a reset to maybe learn new things over the course of the next several months. And if I try to keep continuing on the project, on this VR RPG project, I think I'll burn myself out really quickly, because there's a lot of things that have went wrong that I just don't quite understand. And I think that I could use some more knowledge in other areas, and then maybe come back to this in the future. But I really did enjoy this project. Being able to do something that I've not ever been able to do before, and self-teaching this to myself has been a pretty good experience, and it's inspired me to keep on learning and growing as a game developer and as a student. So I thank you for your time, and I thank you for listening to my, rambling about the issues I've had with this project. And that is going to be the end of this VR RPG saga for now. And maybe one day in the future, I'll be back here working on this, and with a lot more knowledge and a lot more experience. Thank you, and have a great afternoon.